Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, general ages, welcome to this August 21st, 2025 edition of Brandon's World. As always, we are in collaboration with the one, the only Voltage Live. My social media links are in the description below. Last time on Brandon's World on Tuesday, we went over the AFC East. We went over the NFC East as I started previewing my 2025 NFL predictions. Today, we're going to be doing the AFC West and the NFC West. So let's not waste any time. We are starting off with the team that has made the Super Bowl in 4 out of the last 5 seasons, the AFC West, and the Kansas City Chiefs, who I do have winning this division at 13-4. Now, I thought last year was going to be very similar to 2 years ago, where the Chiefs are to struggle through the regular season. They find their footing in the postseason. They make the Super Bowl once again in sort of a clunky way, the way they did the year they beat San Francisco in Super Bowl 58. That was obviously not the case. Now, they did win 10 one-possession games, but they only lost one game during the regular season before getting their belt to asses to them by the reigning, defending, undisputed Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles in Super Bowl 59 by a real score of 40-6. But if you want to say 40-22, go ahead. The Chiefs last year in the Super Bowl, they looked old, right? Josh Sweat, Milton Williams, Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith. They took apart that Chiefs offensive line, who sent Joe Tooney to the Chicago Bears. They dropped Josh Simmons out of Ohio State, who would have been a top 10 pick if it wasn't for his ACL injury. He dropped all the way down to number 31 overall. And Travis Kelce did not look like himself in the Super Bowl. Now, Travis came out and said that he buried that tape. Travis, he basically said it was a cool summer. If you follow my drift, he wants revenge. He wants to go out on top. Rashid Rice, we know about his situation with the law, but it sounds like he's not going to be suspended until next year. So he will be back coming off his injury. Hollywood Brown will be healthy. I expect a big year 2 resurgence from Xavier Worthy. And I do think, like back in the day when they had Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce in his prime, this Chiefs offense is going to be able to put up more points and more explosive plays than what they have done the past couple of years. Also, Isaiah Pacheco should come back healthy this year. And we know what Steve Spagnuolo, led by Chris Jones, will do on the defense side of the ball. So I have no reason to believe, in my opinion, the Chiefs are going to have a little bit of a Super Bowl hangover. This is still Andy Reid. Again, I think they're motivated by what is happening, or what happened to them, I should say, in the Super Bowl, and what is also happening to them in the division, because there's no denying this division has gotten significantly better. This is the best coach division in football. I think they're hearing all the noise, and they're going to want to prove the haters wrong this year. I do have the Chargers as a wild card playoff team finishing at 11-6. Now, the Rashawn Slater injury definitely does hurt, because that played a big factor into my predictions for this team. I really love Rashawn Slater and Joe O. I love the fact they bring in Amari and Andrew from North Carolina to go along with the new addition of Najee Harris, sort of a ground and pound. And they bring back Keenan Allen after Mike Williams retired. So the funny part is they released Keenan Allen and Mike Williams last year. This year they wanted to bring both of them back. Mike Williams retires. They do bring back Keenan Allen, who's a very similar style to Ryan McConkey. So we'll see how that works out. Obviously, they're going to need a Quinyon Johnson to develop more on the outside. The Chargers do need more of a passing attack than what they had a year ago. Justin Herbert threw more interceptions in that playoff game against the Texans, 4, than he did all regular season last year, 3. I think that's going to change. Obviously, I don't think there's a year that we're going for 3 picks. But Jesse Minter was the best defense in football a year ago. I think they're going to be one of the best defenses in football again. And again, this is typical Jim Harbaugh, right? Year 1, come in, the team gets better, way down the culture. Year 2, wherever he's been, Stanford, the Niners, Michigan, They're either a perennial championship contender or they're right on the precipice. And if everything goes right and Kansas City does regress a little bit, is there a world where the Chargers win this division, as many people are predicting this year? Absolutely, there is. I think the Rashawn Slater injury, though, is absolutely huge. And I do think they need a little bit more help on the outside. It gives me a little bit of pause. But as long as Jim Harbaugh's there, the Chargers are going to win 10, 11 games. Then, my biggest surprise of the entire year out of any conference, I think the Las Vegas Raiders are a playoff team at 10-7. On the last episode, I said the New England Patriots had one of the biggest coaching upgrades in the NFL. This is the biggest coaching upgrade in the NFL this year. And if you combine coach and quarterback, there is no bigger upgrade than going from Aiden O'Connell and Antonio Pierce. No disrespect to Antonio Pierce. But to go to Pete Carroll, who I think will be rejuvenated by being, in Las Vegas, being back on the sideline, coaching. I think he just got worn out his welcome there in Seattle. And he reunites with Geno Smith, who resurrected his career in Seattle once the Seahawks showed Russell Wilson the door. Not only that, but Chip Kelly, who I think had learned a lot from being at UCLA and Ohio State the last time he was in the NFL with the San Francisco 49ers. He's more of a run the ball. He's not as fast in terms of his pace with the offense. I think Chip Kelly being back in the NFL, along with Pete Carroll, bringing the college vibe to the NFL, where the NFL is more like college and vice versa than ever before. I think the Raiders are going to make some serious noise, not to mention Ashton Jeanty. I already mentioned how we know Pete Carroll and Chip Kelly love to run the football. Ashton Jeanty is going to get a lot of touches. Geno Smith is not going to turn the football over. Brock Bowers is an incredibly talented tight end. Michael Mayer out of Notre Dame is still there. And I think even though they only really have Max Crosby as a big name out there for the Vegas defense, any defense under Pete Carroll is going to see an improvement than what it was a year ago. So, again, I don't think there's a bigger coach quarterback upgrade in the league for the Las Vegas Raiders. And this may be a tough division with Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, Jim Harbaugh, Justin Herbert. We're about to talk about Bo Nix and Sean Payton, who Sean Payton absolutely loves him some Bo Nix. But I don't know. I just got this vibe about the Raiders this year. For Denver, listen, they did win 10 games last year. I thought they were going to be a 9-win team, not a 10-win team. And some of that ended. But the Chiefs did rest their starter week 18. It did help Denver get to the playoffs. And they did drop Barron, the defensive back out of Texas, which I loved in the first round to go with Patrick Surtain. They do have one of the secondaries in the league. We know led by Zach Allen and that pass rush, Vince Joseph. Under that Denver defense initially when Sean Payton got there was horrendous. Turned it around to be a top 3 defense in the entire league a year ago. Bo Nix had a good year, as I predicted. Sean Payton knows his quarterbacks. He really likes Bo Nix because he doesn't have a lot of turnover plays. He gets the ball out very quickly. But Denver still has a running back by committee approach. Cortland Sutton is a very good low bar number 1, high end number 2 wide receiver. It just doesn't feel like to me that their offense is going to be as explosive as it was a year ago. And again, if you're going to tell me the Las Vegas Raiders are going to upgrade, Jim Harbaugh and Justin Herbert are going to come back stronger in year 2, somebody has to regress a little bit. And I like Bo Nix, but is it possible that Denver experiences just a slight regression from Bo Nix, a lot like C.J. Stroud a year ago? And this isn't the AFC South. This is the AFC West. And I think that combination of the Chiefs are still the Chiefs. Chargers got better. Raiders got significantly better. I'm not sure if Denver, who I think is a very good roster, I'm not sure they got significantly better, which is why I end up pulling back just a little bit, not to mention the likes of New England improving in the AFC to make it harder for them to make the playoffs. Denver, a very respectable 8-9 coming up the rear view. I think this is the best division in the National Football League this year. Now, let's move over to the NFC side, where I once again do have multiple playoff teams. Now, the Matthew Stafford injury does worry me for the Rams. I have them at 11-6, winning this division, barely over not the San Francisco 49ers, but the Arizona Cardinals. I'll get to that in a second. I think Devontae Adams is actually going to be an upgrade over Cooper Kupp, who went to the rival Seattle Seahawks. Again, the Matthew Stafford injury does worry me. This team's got talent everywhere. I think that, the Florida State guys, Brandon Fitz, Jordan Verse, who a lot of people really like Verse. They think he could be a top 5 pass rusher in the league this year, which I'm not feeling that. But I think those young guys on defense, second year in the Rams system, I think they're going to get better. I think their defense is going to get better. Now, they were arguably a slip in the snow from Jalen Carter away from beating my Eagles in the NFC divisional round. And if that happened, you could have made a case they were Super Bowl bound. But the NFL is not linear, right? I'm talking about this all the time. It's not a year-to-year progression like the NBA or Major League Baseball. And I talked about it before. The Stafford injury worries me. Yes, they have Jimmy Garoppolo as a backup, but Jimmy Garoppolo has not played meaningful football in years. And there's just something about this Rams team where it's like they do have Puka Nacua, they do have Devontae Adams, they do have Kyron Williams. I'm still not in love with the offensive line. I think Sean McVay is a good coach. I don't think he's a top 3 coach in the league like everybody else thinks he does. They drool essentially over Boy Genius. I just think the Rams are good. I just don't think they're as good as everybody thinks they are. And I don't know why. I just can't put my finger on them. I do like the Cardinals. Listen, I think Arizona knocked it out of the park with their draft. Walter Nolan, Will Johnson. I wanted them both for my Philadelphia Eagles. It's ironic that Jonathan Gannon, the former defensive coordinator in Philadelphia, nabs them both. Because not only does he bring over Josh Sweat from my Eagles in free agency, but he drafts both those players. And all of a sudden, those 3 additions, I think Walter Nolan's going to be a massive Jordan Davis-esque force in the middle of the defense. And I think if Will Johnson was healthy, even over Barron out there in Denver, he was the best corner in this year's draft. And I think Kyler Murray, this is put up or shut up for him. Last year was first full out of the year with Jonathan Gannon after he came off the ACL. And he started off really good. Then he got cold. Then he got hot again. Him and Marvin Harrison never really had a great connection. I think Harrison is going to have a bounce back, dominating year 2, take over the league the way we all thought he did as a rookie. I think he's going to show a lot of signs that he's like his dad. And I think if that's the case, right? Arizona won 8 games last year. If you give me an improved Marvin Harrison, along with Trey McBride, who's now the highest paid tight end in football, you give me Will Johnson, you give me Walter Nolan, you give me Josh Sweat. That's a lot of significant upgrades for this Arizona Cardinal team. And Kyler Murray is an above-average quarterback. As long as he plays well, doesn't turn the football over, I think this Cardinals roster has some real pieces and the ability to make some noise. I had them a sneaky surprise. They were a third place finish last year. I think a sneaky surprise playoff team this year in the NFC. We have one every year. Last year was Denver and Minnesota. For me this year, it's Las Vegas and it's Arizona on the NFC side. Now the Niners. They do have easily the easiest schedule in the week. But I don't know. I think there's a lot of signs there. This San Francisco team is on a regression. Do I think bringing back Robert Saleh back into the fold as the DC was a smart move? Yes. But Ufunga is not there anymore, the safety. Greenlaw is not there anymore. They actually both went to Denver. And one Nick Bosa injury away, and let's be honest, this defensive line is average. And Brandon Ayuk's been talking about getting paid. And, we'll see. Ricky Pearsall obviously needs to step up. He's going to get a full training camp this year after not obviously due to being shot last year, which almost turned out to be a tragedy. But he's back now into the fold, and they're going to need him to step up because Deebo Samuel was not there anymore. George Kittle was still a very good tight end, but he doesn't feel as explosive. Feels like he's getting older with all the blocking and the wear and tear he's had. And Christian McCaffrey, once again, feels like 2 years ago was the outlier. As great as a running back as he is, he's right up there with Saquon Barkley as the best tailback in football. In my opinion, he's bound to get injured again. And so all that, and they pay Brock Purdy, obviously, to be the man. I don't think Brock Purdy is the man. I think he got a little bit exposed last year. So I think the Niners are going to go in. They're going to have 9 games where they have a quarterback advantage. They're going to have 8 games where they don't. That's where I get their record from. And now we move to the basement with the Seattle Seahawks, who I think they actually downgraded their quarterback. I don't buy the Sam Darnold hype. I think Sam Darnold had the perfect situation around him a year ago with Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson, Kevin O'Connell, an offensive-minded head coach, a great defense led by Brian Flores and the Minnesota Vikings. Now, as much as I like Quinn Kubiak, and he almost resurrected Derek Carr's career in New Orleans, and they do got weapons, right? They got Cooper Kupp coming over from the Rams. But I think if the Rams really wanted to retain him, they would have kept him. They do it. Devontae Adams is an upgrade. They move off DK Metcalf. They move off Tyler Lockett. Jackson Smith and Jigba is going to have to prove that he can be a legitimate number 1 receiver. K9, a running back, is a good back, but he's always hurt. And the offensive line is significantly worse than what it was in Minnesota. He's got a defensive coach. He's going to have to play outdoors a lot, potentially in rainy weather, as opposed to being in a sunny dome in Minnesota. So I think all of those combinations, again, I just don't get it for the Seahawks. And, on the defense side, they don't have any names you can really think of. Maybe Tariq Warren, Devin Witherspoon, a defensive back. They don't have really, I believe Wonder Williams is still there on the defensive line. I mean, that's about it. So the Seahawks are this weird team in purgatory. I don't get them. I don't really know what they're doing. Now, I am excited about the future for them, right? Jalen Milroe, the 3rd-round pick of Alabama. I didn't like him. I just think a lot like, Lamar Jackson when he came into the league, like Josh Allen when he came into the league. He needs seasoning. He's a project. I don't expect him to play right away. I don't even expect him to play this season at all. I think Darnold proves he's more of a bridge quarterback. I think for the Seahawks, fans have better expectations of what their team is going to actually be. I think it's more of a wait and see what Jalen Milroe can do in 2026 type of season. So, with that in mind, today, as we review what we have so far in the playoff picture. Yesterday in the AFC East, we had the champions, the Buffalo Bills and the Philadelphia Eagles. Today, we added in the AFC West and the NFC West. Out of that, we added 2 playoff teams on the NFC side, obviously 1 division, 1 wild card, and we added 3 playoff teams from the AFC side. In the division, we have the Kansas City Chiefs winning the division at 13-4, a game below Buffalo at 14-3. On the wild card side, we have the Chargers 11-6. We have Vegas at 10-7. Right now, our 4 playoff teams are the Bills, the Chiefs, the Chargers. The Raiders are a new playoff team from a year ago. So who do we take out? On the NFC side, we have the Eagles at 13-4. We have the Rams at 11-6. Those are 2 division winners. We have the Arizona Cardinals at 10-7. The Cardinals are a new playoff team from a year ago. So who do we take out? Find that out and more next week when we go over to the AFC North and the NFC North on Tuesday, and the AFC South and the NFC South on Thursday. Like that clip from the Brands World podcast? If so, make sure you go down there and hit that subscribe button. While you're down there hitting the subscribe button, make sure to also hit the notification bell so you never miss another upload. And make sure you check out all the other clips from the Brands World podcast right here on YouTube.